Today, I'll be answering the most common questions that I get on how to help men quit pornography. Over the last year, I've been helping men quit pornography all over the United States. And over that time, I get a lot of very, very frequently asked questions. So I thought, hey, let me gather the top 4 or 5 questions that I usually get and try to help all of you guys that are not my private clients out. So by the end of this video, you'll learn the 4 most common reasons people are not able to quit pornography and my take on how to actually quit. So the very first question that a lot of guys ask me is, how do I deal with urges? How do I deal with the feeling of wanting to watch pornography and not going back in? So let me tell you this. It doesn't start with pornography. It does not start with pornography. It starts with every single area outside of your life. Let me try to explain something to you really quick, okay? I used to, when I was heavy into my porn addiction for 10 years, this is how my day started. I'd wake up, I'd either eat something that wasn't very healthy for me, okay? I'd smoke weed, or I'd do some other unhealthy activities. And my days were filled with unhealthy activities, things that just spiked my dopamine, being on social media, playing video games, watching just mindless things on Instagram or Snapchat or YouTube, and not doing anything difficult. I wasn't working out, I wasn't building anything. And what that does, it raises your dopamine standards way too high. Like, if this is where a normal dopamine standard should be, you doing all of these things in your day-to-day life, all the things that are easy, all the things that are distracting, all of the brain rotting activities, drugs, alcohol, porn, social media, binge watching Netflix, it puts your dopamine at way too high of a level. So, boring work, regular work, just things that you have to get done throughout the day, it brings your dopamine down. So the only way that your brain sees to go up is to go back to pornography. Okay, so it starts outside of adult content. The one thing that we need to understand, we need to lower our dopamine standards. Start every day with a healthy walk. Stop eating so much junk food. Start restricting the amount of social media that you watch every single day. And in return, your dopamine levels are going to go back to a normal resting state. And when they're in that resting state, you don't need those huge spikes of dopamine. You don't need to just be endlessly scrolling on social media if your dopamine is at a healthy level. So to deal with urges, it's not just about pornography. It's about getting all the areas of your life outside of pornography in a healthy balance so that you don't need it. So that's step 1. It's not just about pornography. It's about figuring out all the things outside of your life. Bring your baseline of dopamine way, way, way lower. Okay? And number 2 is how to deal with the relapse shame. This is a tough one because for me, I would go maybe 2 weeks strong, and then I'd relapse, and then I'd say, okay, you know what? Fuck it, all or nothing, right? Let me just binge watch another hour of pornography. That's not helpful. That's not helpful. We need to view progress over perfection. And it's very hard to keep progress if you don't track anything. Okay? So, one very good way to not feel shameful is to start tracking the urges. So, what I did, I need to start tracking how many times I watch pornography through the week. I had a little note piece just like this, and every time I watch, I put a tick. I put a tick, I put a tick. And then I started another column saying how many times did I replace the urge? How many times did I not watch pornography and instead I read a book? How many times did I not watch pornography and instead I went on a walk? How many times did I replace that urge? And I put a tally, and I put a tally, and I put a tally. So at the end of the week, yes, you might still give into porn, but are you making progress? It's not about perfection, it's about progress. And if you're seeing progress, that means you're healing. So the number one way to deal with shame is to keep track of your numbers and actively work towards progressing those numbers. Because it's not shame if you don't get it perfect. It's shame if you never start trying in the first place. And so question 3 is how to deal with triggers. So for those of you who don't understand triggers are something where, say if you're scrolling on Instagram and you see a girl in a bikini picture, and that triggers you to start thinking sexually, and that triggers you to go to content websites. That is a trigger. So the first step is you need to actually recognize where your triggers are coming from. For me, a very, very big source of triggers was Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat. It's like my feed was just covered in bikini pictures or gym girl pictures or things of that nature, and it was not good. Okay? So you need to understand where your triggers are and then delete them or make it harder for you to access them. For example, I had to delete Snapchat. I had to delete it. And it was hard. I didn't want to because I had it for years, but it wasn't moving me towards my goals in life. And I thought to myself, okay, if my parents, and if their grandparents and my great great grandparents lived their entire life without Snapchat, I probably don't need it as well, right? So I had to delete Snapchat. I had to delete Twitter. I had to um, remove a lot of people off my Instagram, even regular girls, but that posted a lot about that stuff. They posted a lot of themselves in bikinis, and I had to delete it. It wasn't their fault, it was my fault. But I had to recognize where my urges were coming from and had to make it harder for myself to see these urges. And I know you can't control everything that we see in life, but we do have a lot of control of what we see in life. So you need to understand where your triggers are coming from, okay? If it's social media for you, what pages are getting you triggered? Can you unfollow those pages? Can you put not interested on those pages? Maybe you see some things in real life that get you triggered. And you can't really control what you see in real life, but you can control how you react to it. Sometimes you need to understand, hey, I'm going to have a chemical reaction inside my brain. I'm a man. I'm going to think certain thoughts. But do I have to act on it? Do I have to start going down a rabbit hole fantasizing? One of my favorite things to do when I used to get a lot of urges in person, obviously I'd see something that triggers me and I'd say, "Hey, I'm not a weirdo. I can be out in public and see a girl and not think sexually. I'm like I'm not a weirdo. That's something weirdos do. Associate something that you don't want to be with that action. Hey, I'm not a weirdo. I don't have to do all that stuff." And that automatically like slaps my brain into like calm down mode, right? And a lot of questions I get is about what to do instead. So if I'm not going to watch porn, what do I do instead of watching porn? Well, there's three major ways I show people what to do instead of watching pornography. Number one is mental. So what could you do as like a mental thing to stop watching pornography? Do you like reading? Do you like meditating? Do you can you do something to calm your mind? A lot of people that haven't read before, I suggest one good book. I say, hey, what do you like? I suggest a good book for them, and I say, whenever you get the urge, for 10 to 15 minutes, read 10 pages. That's it. Just read 10 pages. And they read. And by page 5, they're like, hey, I don't have the urge anymore. My brain got distracted. I can't focus on pornography and focus on this book at the same time. Okay? So that's a good mental redirect. Another way you can redirect is physical. This is probably one of my favorite things to do. Whenever I get the urge to watch pornography, or when I used to, I'd go on a bike ride. I'd take a walk. I'd raise my hands like this above my head for like 2 minutes. Because it's very hard to want to watch pornography if you're engaged in a physical activity. So a mental redirect, a physical redirect, and a relaxing redirect. So something I give to my one-on-one clients is a hypnosis 10-minute urge fighter. So whenever they feel the urge, they can listen to this audio for 10 minutes, and it's scientifically designed to calm your brain down so that way you don't want to watch pornography anymore. That's not something I put out on YouTube, but that is one of the redirects that I have for my clients. I hope these questions helped you in some type of way, and I hope that you can take action on some of these. But I know that quitting porn is very difficult to do on your own. So if you want more personalized help and personalized accountability on how to actually quit pornography by someone who's been there and done that, click the link below, schedule a root session call with me. We're going to dive into your specific triggers, find out what are the areas in your life that's causing you to go back to pornography so that we can map out a way on how you can actually break free for good. If that sounds like you're ready to quit pornography and you're ready to actually break free from this cycle, click the link below and let's talk.